Hey guys, time with F4C Multimedia. I trust you guys are doing excellent. Welcome once again to Color Grading Made Easy Beginner's Guide. This is the session 4. We are going to dive straight into it, but I want you to understand why I am doing this series, okay? I'm trying to make the color grading process very easy, and I'm trying to just simplify it so it helps those of us who may just be wanting to have the best images, best color grading. We've gone through 1,000 LUTs and we still can't, 1,000 LUTs packs, and we still can't figure out our workflow. Okay, so these are the people that I'm doing this for. Okay, all right, let's dive straight into Premiere. As you guys can tell, I have a log footage. Okay, and this is shot with my FX3 in S-Log3 Cinema Gamut. I did not use EI. I used EI Quick. So I find that flexible ISO and EI Quick gets you good results, especially if you have an issue um, with the overexposure of Cine EI. Okay, cool. All right, so something like this. All right, so let's pause somewhere about right here. Okay, let's go down a little bit. Cool. Let's pause somewhere about right here. We could pull back a little bit. Cool. All right, and we have our log footage. This is our flat profile. Okay, now we have to bring our layers to the timeline. So what we're gonna do is I already have the layers created. So I'm gonna bring my first layer, which is gonna be for conversion. Second layer for correction. Third layer for sharpen. Fourth layer for creative. And the final layer for our fades. In terms of color grading, you only need to worry about 3 layers, okay? And that is going to be your conversion, your correction, and your creative, okay? That's pretty much all that you need to know when it comes to color grading. However, for most workflows, it's good to kind of have all these other layers in mind, because if you don't, you are going to need it at some point. Okay. All right, cool. Let's make this shorter. All right, cool. All right, so we are gonna just an eye all the layers and just leave layer 1, which is our conversion. Okay, so this is the shot we are going to work with. We're going to start with our noise reduction directly on the video. Okay, just go to your effects, look up your noise reduction solution of choice. I use Need Video. All right, from your effect control panel, just go ahead and click prepare and build. Select anywhere in your image where you feel there's a lot of noise. Normally in dark spots, there's a dark spot, there's a dark spot, there's a dark spot. Somewhere in the trees can have dark spots. All right, in this case, I'm going to select somewhere right here. I'm going to build a profile. And I'm going to click begin. It's going to clear all of it, but I'm going to tone it down to -50 just to have a cleaner look. All right, so that is it for my noise reduction. Then we're gonna go to our Lumetri color, and we're gonna start with our conversion LUT, or our conversion processing. So here is very important you guys understand a couple ways to convert. I'm going to teach you 3 different ways you can do this so you don't feel limited. So first things first, you can say, hey, I don't have the money to buy third-party LUTs and LUT packs. I just want to use whatever Premiere has to provide. So in this case, we click the original video, right-click, modify, go to color, and override media color space. And depending on whatever you shot in, you're going to pick what you shot in. So in this case, we are using S-Log3, so it's going to be our 2 options here. Remember when I was speaking, I said Cine EI is a little too bright, and then Cine Quick and Flexible ISO pretty much gets you what you want, and you can adjust it to your taste, right? So that's exactly what these two are going to be for. If you do Cine S Gamma 3 Cine, you're going to get a bright conversion, which doesn't look good on this image, but depending on whatever image you are dealing with, or depending on whatever edit you are dealing with, it's going to be tough to deal with. But in this case, it's fine. All right, we're going to go back to modify and go to color, override, and then we're going to do what in my situation I'll do for the options I described. Okay, and that's how you'll be able to do this with the Premiere options. All right, next you can use your LUT conversions. Okay, I use Buttery LUTs, a pack that I paid for, and then at the same time I downloaded what Sony provides on their website. Let's start with what Sony provides on their website. Okay, so if you go with a Cine EI, you're gonna pick the Cine 703. Okay, okay, so basically, the let me do this again, because I think I forgot to delete this earlier, so let me just do it all over. So I'm gonna go to create an adjustment layer. I'm gonna duplicate these 5 times. Okay, again, this is gonna be my layer 1 for conversion, layer 2 for correction, layer 3 for sharpen, all right, layer 4 for creative, and our final layer for our fades. Okay, all right, so now we can go ahead and do our conversion and just drag that on. Okay, and let's go ahead and do the other layers while we at it. All right, okay. Okay, cool. Of course, if you want to color code it, just so it's a little easier to detect, you could do that as well, in case it helps. You know, you could do that ahead if you know, if you want. You don't have to, but if you are the type that likes to have a clean project, that sort of thing, sure. All right, so all this is not necessary. It's just a waste of time. But you know, you guys can do these things if you want. All right, so basically, I have all the layers uneyed, with the exception of my conversion. Okay, and so what I'll do with my conversion, I already showed you the first way. With my Sony conversions, if you do the Cine, you're gonna get something like this, more on the yellow side. If you do the low contrast, you're going to get something like this, and that's more of the feel that I like, and that gets the job done. If you use the Buttery LUTs, you can use a base LUT, or base conversion LUT, or you could do something with a bit more contrast if you want more contrast. Okay, and those all look good. However, I'm going to do the Sony for the purpose of, you know, mixing it up. All right, cool. So that's going to be the conversion LUT. We are not doing anything else. We are done. We are gonna yep, we are gonna uncheck the correction, and now we're gonna start our correction in the basic correction tab. Okay, cool. So basically, for a shot like this, what we could do is we can bring our Lumetri scopes. And what I have going is my vector scope, YUV, parade, and RGB parade and RGB waveform. Okay, and basically that's what this is. Okay, I don't worry too much about that. I just use it for visuals. You just want to make sure you're not clipping the highlights, you're not clipping the blacks, and you're keeping it, decent. Okay, cool. So for something like this, I see my highlights need a little bit more help. So if I wanted to boost the highlights a little bit, I could, or I could decrease if I needed to. Okay. I think boosting will help a lot later. So let's do plus 20. And for the shadows, let's go down to maybe minus 20. And then maybe the contrast, we do like a plus 5, not too much contrast. And our white balance, we can just pick this section here. Okay, cool. And we got the basic correction done. Now we can go to our curves, draw S curves. Okay. Okay, come on. All right, so for our S curve, we could take the highlights up a little bit. We could bring down the shadows, and we can bring down the mids a little bit, a tad bit, okay? And without and with, and that looks okay to me. All right, so then we are gonna go to our hue versus saturation. You're gonna pick the grass, and we're gonna pick maybe the tree. Well, it's the same, but what I mean is I want something here too. So we're gonna pick the greens, and then we're also gonna lift the yellows a little bit. You guys see what I'm doing there? Okay. Now one thing I could do, I could tone down this a little bit, and I could bring this in a little bit just to kind of keep it a bit balanced. All right, so just lifting up. It's a lot of greens, okay? That's all I'm doing there, okay? And this color here is within the reds and the oranges, so I just do this and just lift that up, okay? And you can't tell, but it's gonna make a lot of difference very shortly. I see there's a green somewhere back here, so we could increase that a little. Let's see. Yep. All right, cool. And that looks good. Okay, so without the correction and width. So far, what we've done, we have our log footage, we have our converted footage, and we have our corrected footage. Okay, and that's what we have so far. I don't think I want to do anything else within the curves and hue options. So I'll leave it there. The only thing I'll do, color wheels, maybe the shadows. I can lift it a little bit. Okay, and these shadows, I can decide, hey, I want it on the cooler side, so maybe go a little cooler. Okay, and then my midtones, I'm not gonna do anything there, and I'm just gonna leave it as is. Okay, so that's it for my correction. Then I'll go to my creative. All right, I'm gonna eye it, and then now I'm gonna come to my creative, and you can pick whatever you want. Basically, go through a whole bunch of options and pick whatever makes the most sense to you. Okay, so for example, if I was to pick one of these cinematic and I pick something like the Chavin, that's gonna give me this type of look. You guys see what it did? All right, that looks good, and I can adjust that to my liking. If I don't like it, I can maybe pick one of my phantom LUTs, something like the Jamaica. Okay, maybe that looks good to me. it might be a little too strong, so I can decide, hey, instead of keeping at 100, let me go maybe a 40. That looks good. Okay. And of course you can add a faded look to it if you needed to. If you don't like it, take it out. And then your saturation, you can boost it or decrease. For example, if I boost to 80, decrease to 80, it's going to give me this kind of look, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Or I can add a little bit color by just doing 90, and that will be a bit more like that. Or I can decide to do something like a 105 or 120, just add a little bit contrast or whatever. Okay. And in my basic and in my contrast, I don't want to do anything in the basic. I want to stay within my creative. Okay. And I'll keep it like this. Okay. And that's kind of my creative look. Okay. So now let's look at what we have so far when in terms of color correction. So we have our ungraded flat video to converted, from converted to correction, from correction to creative. Okay, and that gets us something good. Now if the contrast is a little too strong for you, again, you're gonna have to adjust it to your liking. Okay, I'm not the one to tell you what to do. Go for whatever you feel you like. Okay, so if you like something like maybe a 95, go for that. Okay, if you are more on the contrasty side, go for that. And Jamaica looks good, but also keep in mind that cinematic Chavin also look pretty decent. Okay, cool. So now the next thing I'm gonna do my sharpen, and I keep this very simple. I go to your effects, type in sharp, and then go to your effect controls, drag in your sharpen, drag in your unsharpen. All right, I'm gonna keep this very simple. What you could do, you could zoom in so you see what is gonna affect. Okay, now you could uncheck the sharpen. Let's start with the sharpen. Let's go for 100. Look at the image, look at what it does. Okay, let's go 5. Let's see what it does. Okay, 5 adds a little too much. Let's do 0.5. Okay, 0.5 kind of tones it down. Let's do a 0.7. Okay, let's do a 1. Okay, let's do a 2. Okay, cool. 2 lifts it up a little bit. It doesn't overdo, so I think I like the 2. Keep the threshold at 0. Then you're gonna add your sharpen back, and then maybe we can start with maybe something like a 20. Okay, 20 looks a little too much for me, so I'm gonna go 10. Okay, not much difference. A 5, not much difference. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick with a 10, and that it looks good. Okay, so I'm just gonna click fit, and I'm gonna go back to how it looks right now, and pretty much that is all there is to it. Then my final layer is gonna be my fades. I'm gonna draw in my fades with my shortcut Shift D, and I'm gonna get here, and we're gonna fade it out a bit longer, so that way it fades out nicely. Okay, cool. So we're gonna keep this at 1/8 or maybe 1/4. Okay. Okay. All right. So the sharpen is a little too much. So what I'm gonna do, we are gonna take this to 5, and we are gonna reduce this to an 80. Nope, let's do 70. And then we are gonna take this to a 1. Okay, and I think that should be good. All right, so far with the graded image, we have something like this. So you guys see it looks bad. The reason why it looks bad is because I'm playing back in a very low resolution. If I was to do a full, it's gonna be very slow. and I'll be barely able to play it back. Okay, so that's why. But at the same time too, you guys realize the grass also looks a little too um, the highlights are just a little too much. Okay, so what we can do is we can bring the highlights down. The question for you to ask yourself is, at this point, am I going to bring the highlights down in my creative, my correction, or my conversion? Okay, remember, you never touch conversion. So what makes the most sense? Correction. You got it. So you're gonna go to your geometry, and you're gonna go to your basic color, and you see I lifted the highlights. So let's take it back to 0. Let's see how it helps. It doesn't. So let's take down the highlights. Okay, all right, cool. So taking it down helps. So let's do something like maybe a -60. And maybe the shadows, let's bring it down a bit more. Okay, yeah, I like that. So let's do a -40 for the highlights. And yep, actually -50. And for the shadows, let's lift it a little bit. Okay. All right, cool. So I mean, I think it looks better. Okay, it looks better. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do -60. All right. Cool. So this is what we have so far. Let's just do one half. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that plays back fine. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Okay. All right. All right, for the sake of time, let's get out of it. Okay. And that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Okay. That looks very good. Good. All right. So that's what we have. So let's kind of do a quick recap of what we've done. And let's look at how we're looking at the Lumetri. See, this is how we ended up. Not too bad. It looks good. All right. So we have our flat image. Okay. So there we have our flat image. Okay. Then we decided we're going to add a conversion LUT. Okay, directly from Sony. Then we added our correction. Then once we added our correction, we added our creative. Okay. Then once we added our creative, we added some sharpening. And once we added some sharpening, we added our fade for the end so it can fade out. And that's what we have. And it looks very, 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 very good. All right, cool. So the question for you is, you might be like, okay, how do I see before and after? Well, we can simply do an add track, and we can just simply duplicate this, and we can all right, so we can create a nested clip, and this will be graded. Okay, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna uncheck it, and whatever was not graded, we're gonna just shift it to the left. Okay, and we're gonna maybe crop it a little bit on the right. Okay, cool. And we're gonna do the same with our right. We are gonna actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna flip this around so that way it's a bit easier. So the graded will just now come to the right. Okay, good. Good. So this is a side-by-side comparison. So we see the work we've done, okay? All right, let's see how we did. All right, so great, graded on our right, what was not graded on our left, okay? Of course, this image can be improved, okay? I'm just trying to do a quick edit so we get something going. All right, that looks good. Don't worry about the noise and all that, okay? I'm not playing at the full render. Okay. All right, great. And it's gonna fade out very soon. All right, perfect. All right, so you guys see how that went, okay? You guys see how that went, okay? All right, so we went from this to that, okay? And of course, you can improve it however you will, okay? And that is it for this portion of the tutorial, okay? So once again, this is color grading made easy, beginner's guide, and this was session 4, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video. Please consider subscribing if you're enjoying this series, and we'll continue to color grade, and I'll continue to help you until you fully understand or at least build some confidence about your color grading workflow. All right, you guys remain blessed. Until next time, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching.